1. Let me tell you about this sweet 1967 Chevy Caprice I just stumbled upon on Craigslist. It's a real gem for anyone looking for a classic project car, and it's up for grabs at $11,000 OBO. Now I gotta be honest with you, this beauty has seen better days, but that's part of its charm, right? Under the hood, you've got a 327 engine paired with the original Powerglide transmission. The odometer shows 87,000 miles, which isn't too bad for a car of this vintage. Now I won't sugarcoat it, there's some rust and a few dings here and there, but that just adds to its character. The seller describes it as having a nice patina, which is a fancy way of saying it's got that weathered look that many collectors love. The good news is that it's got a solid frame and floorboards, which is crucial for any restoration project. It's sitting on new rubber, so that's one less thing to worry about. The factory air conditioning is still there, but it's not working at the moment. Nothing a little TLC can't fix, right? Inside, you've got power bench seats and windows, which is a nice touch for a 67 model. The title is clean, so no worries there. Now, the seller mentions they don't have any more photos, so you might want to check it out in person if you're seriously interested. Overall, this Caprice could be a fantastic project for the right person. It's got its flaws, sure, but that's what makes these old cars so fun to work on. The seller's even open to trades for the right short bed GM truck, so there's some flexibility there. If you're in the market for a classic Chevy with potential, this 67 Caprice might just be the ticket. Just remember, with old cars like this, you're not just buying a vehicle. You're buying a piece of history and a labor of love. 2. We're checking out a sweet ride that's sure to get your heart racing, a 1985 Pontiac Firebird. This beauty is up for grabs at a cool $5,000, and let me tell you, it's a steal for any classic car lover. Now I gotta be honest with you folks, this Firebird isn't perfect, but it's got a whole lot of charm. The seller describes it as a beauty of a car, and I can see why. With its sleek red paint and those iconic T-tops, this ride is sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Under the hood, we've got a 305 cubic inch, that's 5.0 liters for you metric fans, V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission. It's got rear-wheel drive, just like a proper muscle car should. The odometer shows 100,432 miles, which is pretty low for a car of this vintage. The seller mentions it was garaged for most of its life, so that explains the good condition. Now, let's talk about the good stuff. This Firebird has had some recent work done, including a new heater core, alternator, and spark plugs. The headlights have been replaced too. It's got working AC, which is a big plus for a car this age. And get this, it's got a Bluetooth-enabled sound system. How's that for mixing old school cool with modern tech? But I promise to keep it real with you, so here are the cons. There's a small sun crack on the dash, a couple of small dents on the fenders, courtesy of some careless parkers, and a rip in the driver's seat. Nothing major, but worth mentioning. The seller says it runs and drives great, and with only 2 previous owners, it sounds like this Firebird has been well loved. It's been used as a town runabout for the past couple of years, so it's not just been sitting pretty. All in all, if you're in the market for a classic 80s muscle car with some modern touches, this 1985 Pontiac Firebird could be the one for you. It's got its quirks, sure, but that's part of the charm of these old beauties. Just imagine cruising down the street with those T-tops off, the V8 rumbling. Now that's living the dream, folks. 3. We're taking a look at a real classic, a 1973 Ford Thunderbird that's up for grabs at $5,300. Now let me tell you, this big bird has some stories to tell. First off, this T-Bird is a one-family-owned vehicle, which is always a good sign. It's been loved and cared for by the same folks for nearly 5 decades. The odometer shows a mere 44,375 miles, which is incredibly low for a car of this vintage. That's barely broken in for these old American boats. Under the hood, we've got a monster 460 cubic inch V8 engine. That's 7.5 liters of pure American muscle, folks. It's paired with an automatic transmission, perfect for cruising in style. The seller says it runs great, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. Now let's talk about the condition, The interior is described as like new, which is pretty impressive for a 50-year-old car. No dents on the body either, so that's a big plus. The chrome is in great shape, and it's sitting on a set of new Firestone tires. It's got all the power options you'd expect: power steering, power brakes, and even air conditioning. There's even an adjustable steering column, which was pretty fancy for 1973. But I promise to keep it real with you. So here's the not-so-great news. This T-Bird needs some TLC on the outside. The seller admits it needs a new paint job, and there's some surface rust on the hood and trunk lid. Nothing too scary for a car of this age, but definitely something to consider if you're thinking about making an offer. One interesting note, the seller mentions it's front-wheel drive, which is a bit odd for a '73 Thunderbird. These were typically rear-wheel drive, so that might be a typo in the listing. Something to double-check if you're seriously interested. All in all, this 1973 Ford Thunderbird looks like a solid project for someone who wants a classic luxury coupe with some serious presence. It's got its flaws, sure, but with some paint and bodywork, this bird could really soar again. Just imagine cruising down the boulevard in this land yacht, turning heads with that unmistakable 70s style. 4. We're taking a look at a real gem from the 70s, a 1973 Dodge Coronet that's up for grabs at $7,500. Let me tell you, this classic Mopar is sure to turn some heads. First off, this Coronet is rocking a bright yellow paint job that the seller believes to be original. That's pretty impressive for a 50-year-old car. It's a 4-door sedan, perfect for cruising with your friends or family in true 70s style. Under the hood, we've got an 8-cylinder engine, which was the way to go back in '73. It's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a smooth operator on the road. The seller says it runs great and the transmission shifts well, which is always good news for a car of this vintage. Now let's talk mileage. The odometer shows just 54,179 miles. That's incredibly low for a car that's been around for half a century. It suggests this Coronet has been more of a cherished possession than a daily driver. The interior is described as being in nice shape, which is pretty impressive for a car from the disco era. The seller mentions that the car has been well taken care of overall, and that really shows in the details they've provided. One of the best things about this Coronet is that it apparently has no major rust issues. For a car from the 70s, that's like finding a unicorn. The seller also believes it hasn't been in any accidents, which is another big plus. Now, I always like to keep it real with you folks, so I should mention that the seller doesn't go into a lot of detail about any potential issues. They say there are no mechanical problems, but with a car this old, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection if you're serious about buying. All in all, this 1973 Dodge Coronet looks like a solid choice for anyone looking to get into the classic car scene without breaking the bank. It's got that unmistakable 70s charm, a clean title, and seems to be in good condition for its age. Just imagine cruising down the street in this yellow beauty, feeling like you've stepped back in time to the era of bell-bottoms and 8-track tapes. 5. We're checking out a real classic land yacht, a 1973 Mercury Grand Marquis, and it's up for grabs at $6,000. Let me tell you, this big beauty is a slice of pure 70s Americana. First off, let's talk about the heart of this beast. We're looking at a V8 engine, which is exactly what you'd expect in a luxury cruiser from this era. It's paired with an automatic transmission, perfect for smooth sailing down the boulevard. The seller says it runs like new, which is pretty impressive for a car pushing 50 years old. Now, the odometer shows 67,000 miles, which isn't too bad for a vehicle of this vintage. It suggests this Grand Marquis has been more of a weekend cruiser than a daily driver over the years. One of the coolest things about this car is that the interior has been restored. That's a big deal for a car from the 70s, as interiors often show their age first. It's also got all the power options you'd expect in a luxury car of its time, which adds to the comfort factor. The exterior is sporting a gray paint job, and it's sitting on some snazzy alloy wheels. It's even got an AM/FM radio, so you can tune in to your favorite oldies while you're cruising. Now, I always like to keep it real with you folks, so here's something to note. The seller mentions there's some small front damage. They don't go into detail about what that means, so it's definitely something you'd want to check out in person if you're serious about buying. Another thing that caught my eye is that the seller lists it as front-wheel drive. That's a bit unusual for a 73 Grand Marquis, which typically would have been rear-wheel drive. It might be a typo in the listing, but it's worth double-checking if you're interested. All in all, this 1973 Mercury Grand Marquis looks like a solid choice for anyone wanting to dive into the world of classic American luxury cars. It's got its quirks and a bit of damage, sure, but that's part of the charm with these old beauties. Just imagine floating down the highway in this plush ride, feeling like $1,000,000. 6. We're taking a look at a real classic muscle car, a 1975 Chevrolet Nova that's up for grabs at $7,500. Let me tell you, this blue beauty has got some serious potential. First off, let's talk about what's under the hood. We're looking at a V8 engine with headers, which means this Nova's got some real grunt. It's also sporting a Holley carburetor, which is a favorite among hot rodders for good reason. The seller says it runs and drives great with no mechanical issues, which is always music to a gearhead's ears. Now, the odometer shows just 43,234 miles. That's impressively low for a car that's been around for nearly half a century. It suggests this Nova hasn't been used as a daily driver, which can be a good thing for preservation. The exterior paint is described as good, and it's rocking that classic blue color that just screams 1970s cool. It's a hatchback model, which adds some practicality to this muscle car package. And here's a bonus for California folks. No smog check needed. But I promise to keep it real with you, so let's talk about the not-so-great stuff. The interior, according to the seller, definitely needs work. That's pretty vague, but it suggests you might be looking at some serious restoration inside the cabin. There's also rust on the driver's floor panel, which is something you'll want to address sooner rather than later to prevent it from spreading. The tires are at about 60%, so you might want to factor in new rubber in the near future. One thing to note, the seller lists it as a hatchback, which is a bit unusual for a 75 Nova. Typically, these were available as coupes or sedans, so that might be worth double-checking if you're interested. All in all, this 1975 Chevy Nova looks like a solid project car for someone who's not afraid to get their hands dirty. It's got a strong foundation with that V8 engine and Holley carb, but it's going to need some TLC to bring it back to its former glory. Just imagine cruising down the strip in this classic muscle car, turning heads with that unmistakable V8 rumble. 7. Listen up, 'cause I've got a sweet ride to tell you about. We're talking about a 1968 Pontiac Firebird, and let me tell you, this baby's got some serious potential. Now, I gotta be real with you, this isn't a turnkey cruiser. The seller's husband was in the middle of getting it back on the road when he sadly passed away. But don't let that discourage you, because this Firebird's got some killer features. We're looking at a 400 cubic inch powerhouse under the hood, which is the original motor, by the way. When it was running, this beast purred like a kitten. It's got an automatic transmission that's been rebuilt, so that's one less thing to worry about. And check this out. It's rocking some Posi-Track wheels for that extra grip when you're laying down rubber. Now, I gotta be honest, the odometer's rolled over, but it's showing 42,606 miles. The seller says it's in good condition, but remember, it's not currently running. That said, this could be an awesome project for the right person. The title's clean, which is always a plus. At $12,000 OBO, this Firebird could be a steal for someone who's got the skills and passion to bring it back to life. Just imagine cruising down the strip in this classic muscle car once you've got it purring again. So if you're a serious buyer with cash in hand and a love for American muscle, this 68 Firebird could be calling your name. Don't sleep on this opportunity to own a piece of automotive history. Just make sure you zoom in on those pics and give it a good look before you make the call. 8. We're checking out a real gem from the Craigslist treasure trove, a 1979 Buick LeSabre Special Edition Palm Beach. Now this isn't just any old LeSabre, folks. We're talking about a limited production run with only 3,001 ever made, making this a true collector's item. Let's break it down for you. This white beauty is rolling with a rebuilt 301 engine that's purring like a kitten. With just 79,000 miles on the clock, This LeSaber's got plenty of life left in it. The seller's asking $6,500, which could be a steal for the right buyer. Now, I've got to keep it real with you. It's not perfect. The seller mentions some small paint defects, but hey, that's par for the course with a 40-year-old car, right? The good news is that the interior is clean and the body's in great shape overall. One thing to note, it needs a smog check, but the seller's willing to take care of that if needed. That's a nice gesture that could save you some hassle. Oh, and get this, there's a brand new, never-used JL stereo system that can be included for an extra price. Imagine cruising down the boulevard in this classic, bumping your favorite tunes through a modern sound system. Sweet, right? This LeSaber's got an automatic transmission, and interestingly, it's listed as 4WD. That's pretty unusual for a LeSaber, so you might want to double-check that with the seller. Bottom line, if you're in the market for a unique piece of American automotive history, this 1979 Buick LeSaber Palm Beach Edition could be your ticket. It's not showroom perfect, but it's a solid ride with some real potential. Just make sure you're ready for the attention you'll get rolling up in this classic. 9. Buckle up because we've got a real treat for you today. A 1985 Pontiac Fiero SE that's turning heads and breaking hearts. This isn't just any Fiero, folks. We're talking about a meticulously maintained, award-winning beauty that's been cherished by its original owner for nearly 4 decades. Now I know what you're thinking. 240,000 miles. That's a lot. But hold your horses, because this Fiero is living proof that with proper care, these machines can go the distance and still look stunning. The current seller describes it as beautiful and mint, and with its history of winning car shows, I'm inclined to believe them. Let's talk specs. This white beauty is rocking a V6 engine paired with a 4-speed Getrag manual transmission. That's right, folks. 3 pedals for maximum driving enjoyment. It's rear-wheel drive, just as the Pontiac gods intended. The seller's story is a bit of a heartbreaker. They bought it hoping to make it their daily driver, but financial circumstances are forcing a quick sale. Their loss could be your gain, though. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This Fiero comes with a treasure trove of goodies. We're talking maintenance records, extra parts, books, and even the awards it's won at car shows. The original owner even restored the stock rims before selling it. Talk about attention to detail. The current owner has made one modern upgrade, a $300 Kenwood stereo with Bluetooth. But don't worry, purists, the original stereo is included and still works. At $10,000 OBO, this Fiero is priced to sell. It's described as mechanically sound and in excellent condition. Sure, it's got high mileage, but with this level of care and documentation, it could be a fantastic buy for the right enthusiast. So, if you've been dreaming of owning a piece of 80s automotive history that's been loved and cared for its entire life, this 1985 Pontiac Fiero SE might just be your ticket to ride. Just be prepared for all the attention you'll get at car shows and gas stations alike. 10. We've got a real classic on our hands today, a 1978 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz. This big, beautiful boat of American luxury is up for grabs at $10,000, and let me tell you, it's got some stories to tell. First things first, this Eldorado is rocking that classic Cadillac blue paint, and according to the seller, it's in good shape with no dents or door dings. That's pretty impressive for a car that's been cruising the streets for over 4 decades. Now, let's talk power. Under that long, luxurious hood sits a beefy V8 engine. The seller says it runs great, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. They've even included a photo of the engine specs for all you gearheads out there. The odometer shows 145,899 miles, but here's the kicker. It's rolled over. So this caddy's seen some serious road time, but hey, that just means it's well loved, right? Inside, you're looking at a time capsule of 70s luxury. The leather is reportedly in awesome condition with no rips or tears. That's rare for a car this age. The vinyl top is intact, and you've even got the original hubcaps and floor mats. Talk about preserving history. Now, I've got to keep it real with you. The carpet needs a good cleaning, and the fiberglass corner panels in the front and rear need some TLC. But hey, that's part of the charm of owning a classic, right? All the power options are there and working, including the air conditioning. A big plus for summer cruising. And get this, the car's been living under a carport with a full fabric cover. That's some serious protection from the elements. So, what do we have here? A piece of American automotive history that's been cared for, but not babied. It's got its quirks and needs a little love, but isn't that what classic car ownership is all about? For $10,000, you could be rolling down the boulevard in pure 70s style, turning heads and living that Cadillac life. Just be prepared for frequent stops at the gas station. These land yachts aren't known for their fuel efficiency. But hey, that's the price of luxury, baby. 11. We've got a real classic on our hands today. A 1964 Ford Galaxie 500. This piece of American automotive history is up for grabs at $4,500. And let me tell you, it's got potential written all over it. Now I've got to keep it real with you folks. This Galaxie isn't exactly in showroom condition, but that's part of its charm. The seller says it ran well when it was parked a year ago, but currently it's just cranking over. That means you've got yourself a project car, my friends. Under the hood, we're looking at a 351 Windsor V8. That's a solid power plant with plenty of aftermarket support. It's paired with a C6 automatic transmission and 3.73 gears, which should make for some decent acceleration once you get it running again. Oh, and it's got dual exhaust, so you know it'll sound sweet when it's purring. The odometer shows 110,000 miles, but it's rolled over, so this baby's seen some serious road time. It's sporting a white paint job, which could look pretty slick with a good polish. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. This Galaxie needs some love. There's a power steering fluid leak that'll need addressing, and the interior needs work. But hey, that just means you can customize it to your heart's content. Despite its issues, the seller describes the overall condition as good, and it's got a clean title. That's a solid starting point for a restoration project. So what do we have here? A classic 1964 Ford Galaxie 500 that's begging for someone to bring it back to its former glory. It's not a turnkey cruiser, but at $4,500, it could be a great opportunity for the right enthusiast. If you've been itching to get your hands dirty with a classic car project, this Galaxie might just be your ticket. Just remember, you're not just buying a car, you're taking on a piece of automotive history. Are you up for the challenge? Because let me tell you, when you get this beauty purring down the road again, it'll all be worth it. 12. We've got a real gem on our hands today. A 1982 AMC Eagle 4x4 wagon. This isn't just any old station wagon, folks. We're talking about one of the pioneers of the crossover SUV market, and it's up for grabs at $6,500 OBO. Now let me tell you, this Eagle is soaring high with its excellent condition. The seller's not pulling any punches here. This baby's got 121,000 original miles on the clock, which is pretty reasonable for a car pushing 40 years old. And get this, it's still rocking its original paint in an eye-catching yellow. Talk about a time capsule on wheels. Under the hood, we've got a trusty 6-cylinder engine that's reportedly running good. Paired with an automatic transmission and that sweet 4-wheel drive system, this Eagle is ready to tackle whatever you throw at it, be it city streets or backwoods trails. But wait, there's more. The interior is described as nice, and they've even thrown in a new suede headliner. Fancy, right? It's all original too, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. Now, I've got to keep it real with you. At this price point and age, it's not going to be perfect. There might be some quirks and creaks, but that's part of the charm with these old AMCs. Plus, with a clean title, you're starting off on the right foot. So what do we have here? A well-preserved piece of automotive history that's as unique as they come. The AMC Eagle was ahead of its time, blending the comfort of a passenger car with the capability of an SUV before that was even a thing. For $6,500, you could be cruising in a conversation starter that's sure to turn heads at car shows and gas stations alike. It's not just a car, it's a piece of American ingenuity on wheels. So, if you're looking for something different, something that screams, "I know my car history," this 1982 AMC Eagle might just be the ticket. Just be prepared for everyone and their grandma asking you about it wherever you go. 13. We've got a smokin' hot 1984 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am that's gonna make your mullet stand on end. This black beauty is up for grabs at $12,500. And let me tell you, It's got more attitude than a hair metal concert. Now, get this. This isn't just any Trans Am. We're talking about a one-family-owned gem that's been cherished since it rolled off the lot back in '84. That's nearly 4 decades of TLC, folks. Under that long, sleek hood, we've got a rumbling V8 engine that's just begging to be unleashed. And here's the kicker. It's got a fresh engine. That means this bird is ready to fly for many more miles to come. Paired with an automatic transmission, it's the perfect combo for cruising the strip or burning rubber at the stoplight. The odometer's showing just over 100k miles, which is pretty sweet for a car pushing 40. But remember, with that fresh engine, it's got the heart of a much younger machine. Now let's talk about style. This Trans Am is rocking its original black paint, and from what the seller says, it's a real head-turner. And those T-tops? Pop them off, crank up some Bon Jovi, and you've got yourself the ultimate 80s experience. But wait, there's more. It's got brand new tires, so you're good to grip the road for miles to come. And for those hot summer cruises, the AC is blowing ice cold. How cool is that? The seller describes this Firebird as a beautiful driver that's so much fun to drive. And you know what? I believe them. These third-gen Firebirds are known for their handling and performance, and this one sounds like it's in top form. Now, I've got to keep it real with you. At $2,500, it's not the cheapest '84 Firebird out there. But with its one-family history, fresh engine, and excellent condition, it could be worth every penny for the right enthusiast. So, if you've been dreaming of owning a piece of 80s automotive glory, this 1984 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am might just be your ticket to ride. Just be prepared for all the attention you'll get cruising down the boulevard in this black beauty. And remember, the 80s called, they said you're looking totally rad. 14. We've got a sweet ride that's going to make your heart race faster than a V8 at full throttle. We're talking about a 1978 Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon that's been given some serious love and attention. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. This isn't your grandpa's Cutlass. We're looking at a beast with a 383-stroker motor under the hood. That's right, folks. This baby's got some serious muscle. Paired with an automatic overdrive transmission, you've got the perfect combo for cruising the strip or burning rubber at the stoplight. The odometer's showing a mere 58,000 miles, which is practically nothing for these old-school tanks. It's sporting a clean brown paint job that'll have you feeling like the coolest cat in town. But wait, there's more. This Cutlass is rolling on its original mags, wrapped in brand spanking new Cooper Cobra GT radials. That means you're ready to hit the road in style and with plenty of grip. Now, I know what you're thinking. But what about tunes? Well, fear not. This Olds has been upgraded with an Android stereo system, so you can blast your favorite tracks while you're cruising down the boulevard. The seller describes this Cutlass as being in excellent condition and drives great. They've even got a running video available upon request, which is always a good sign. It shows they're confident in what they're selling. At $14,500, it's not the cheapest '78 Cutlass out there, but with that stroker motor and overall excellent condition, it could be a solid buy for the right enthusiast. Plus, they're open to trades, so who knows? You might be able to work out a deal. So, if you've been dreaming of owning a piece of American muscle that's been given some modern upgrades, this 1978 Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon might just be your ticket to ride. Just be prepared for all the attention you'll get at car shows and gas stations alike. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. To do awesome burnouts. 15. We've got a real gem on our hands today. A 1974 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. This yellow beauty is up for grabs at $12,000 OBO. And let me tell you, it's got some serious potential. Now let's talk about what's under that long, sleek hood. We're looking at a numbers-matching L82 350 V8 engine. For those who might not know, the L82 was the high-performance option for '74, so this Vetta's got some extra muscle. But wait, there's more. The current owner has given this power plant a little modern love with a new Edelbrock intake manifold and a Holley Sniper EFI system. That means you're getting classic muscle with a touch of modern reliability and performance. Sweet. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, this Stingray is begging to be driven. With only 76,437 miles on the clock, It's barely broken in by Corvette standards. Inside, you're looking at a clean interior with newly upholstered seats. That's a big plus because finding a '74 Vetta with a nice interior can be tough these days. The seller's also thrown in some new goodies. We're talking new brake calipers and pads, plus BFG radial tires that are practically fresh out of the box. That means this Corvette is ready to hit the road safely. Now, I've got to keep it real with you. The seller mentions it just needs paint. That could mean anything from a few touch-ups to a full respray, so you might want to factor that into your budget. But hey, that just means you get to choose your dream color, right? One more thing that's worth its weight in gold. This Corvette comes with its build sheet and tank sticker. That's like having the car's birth certificate and adds some serious value for collectors. So what do we have here? A '74 Corvette Stingray with a numbers-matching high-performance engine, some choice upgrades, and a solid foundation for a stunning restoration. At $12,000 OBO, it could be a great opportunity for the right enthusiast. If you've been dreaming of owning a piece of American sports car history, this Stingray might just be your ticket to ride. Just be prepared for all the waves and thumbs up you'll get cruising down the boulevard in this classic Vetta. 16. We've got a real-time capsule for you today. A 1985 Buick LeSabre that's been living the good life. This white beauty is up for grabs at $4,500 OBO, not $14,500 as initially mentioned. And let me tell you, it's a slice of 80s Americana that's been preserved better than your grandma's china. Now, let's talk about what's under that long, elegant hood. We're looking at a 5.0L Oldsmobile 307 V8 engine with only 74,411 miles on the clock. That's barely broken in for these old-school tanks. Paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, this LeSabre is ready to cruise in classic comfort. The seller's not pulling any punches here. They're calling this car excellent, and from the description I'm inclined to believe them. We're talking original paint and vinyl top, folks. That's rarer than a cassette player in a new car these days. Inside, it's like stepping into a time machine. The dash has no cracks, a miracle for an '80s GM product. Every gauge works and lights up, and the interior is described as excellent. Even the power antenna still works. When's the last time you saw one of those in action? Now, I've got to keep it real with you. There are a few issues to address. The AC needs some work, the headliner is sagging, though propped up for now, the rear bumper fillers need replacing, and the driver's seat is frozen and needs attention. But hey, that's par for the course with a car pushing 40, right? On the plus side, it's got new tires and a fresh oil change, so it's ready to hit the road. And for you Oregon folks, it comes with specialty plates, so no DEQ needed. So, what do we have here? A well-preserved piece of '80s luxury that's been pampered by an elderly owner. It's not perfect, but it's a solid foundation for either a full restoration or just a cool daily driver that'll turn heads at every stoplight. At $4,500 OBO, this 1985 Buick LeSabre could be a steal for the right enthusiast. Just be prepared for everyone at the gas station to come up and tell you about the one their grandpa used to have. 17. We've got a piece of late '70s muscle car history that's going to make you want to grow a mustache and blast some Smokey and the Bandit tunes. We're talking about a 1979 Pontiac Trans Am, and it's up for grabs at $11,500 cash. Now, let's get real for a second. This isn't a numbers-matching, all-original cream puff. The original 403 Olds engine is long gone, replaced with a 350 Chevy V8. But hey, that Chevy small block is a tried-and-true power plant that's easy to work on and has tons of aftermarket support. It's paired with a TH350 automatic transmission, so you're ready to cruise in style. The seller says it runs and drives good, which is always music to a gearhead's ears. They've done some work to keep this bird flying straight, including new shocks, sway bar bushings, steering parts, battery, and fuel pump. Oh, and it's got factory four-wheel disc brakes. That's a nice touch for stopping power. Now, I've got to keep it real with you. There are a few quirks to consider. The AC components are MIA, so you'll be rocking the 4 to 60 air conditioning, 4 windows down at 60 ml/h for now. The floor pans have been replaced, which isn't uncommon for cars of this vintage, but it's something to keep in mind. And here's a biggie. the odometer doesn't work. The seller lists 45,000 miles, but without a working odometer, that's anybody's guess. On the bright side, they describe it as a very presentable car. That means you could probably roll up to a cars and coffee meet without embarrassment, but don't expect to win any Concours d'Elegance events without some more work. So what do we have here? A 1979 Trans Am that's been modified but still carries that iconic late 70s muscle car attitude. It's not a perfect, all-original survivor, but it could be a great starting point for a project or just a cool cruiser to enjoy on the weekends. At $11,500, it's priced in the ballpark for a driver-quality 79 Trans Am. Just remember, you're not just buying a car, you're buying an experience. An experience that includes T-tops, hood scoops, and enough 1970s style to make you feel like you're starring in your own action movie. Just don't try any Smokey and the Bandit stunts, all right? 18. We've got a real survivor for you today, a 1982 Chevrolet Camaro that's been living the good life. This black beauty, well, faded black beauty, is up for grabs at $7,500, and let me tell you, it's got some stories to tell. Now, let's talk about what's under that long, sleek hood. We're looking at a 305 V8 engine paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's right, folks, 3 pedals for maximum driving enjoyment. With 195,000 miles on the clock, this Camaro's seen its fair share of road, but don't let that scare you off. The seller's been treating this 82 with some serious TLC. It hasn't been driven in winter and rarely in the rain, which explains why the underside and engine compartment are clean. That's a big deal for these 3rd-gen F-bodies, which were known to rust if you so much as looked at them funny. But wait, there's more. We're talking about a T-top car here, and get this, it doesn't leak. If you know anything about T-top cars from this era, you know that's rarer than a unicorn sighting. Now I've got to keep it real with you. The original paint is faded, so she's not going to be winning any beauty contests as is. But hey, that just means you've got a blank canvas to work with, right? On the mechanical side, there's been some recent work done. We're talking newer front calipers and pads, rear cylinders and shoes, and a cleaned and resealed fuel tank. That's some peace of mind right there. Inside, the interior is described as good, which is pretty impressive for a car pushing 40. And the cherry on top? The original exhaust is clean. That's a testament to how well this Camaro's been cared for. So what do we have here? A well-maintained, survivor status, 1982 Camaro that's been loved but not babied. It's not perfect, but it's a solid foundation for either a full restoration or just a cool daily driver that'll turn heads at every stoplight. At $7,500, this 82 Camaro could be a steal for the right enthusiast. Just be prepared for everyone at the gas station to come up and tell you about the one they used to have in high school. And remember, with a manual transmission and T-tops, you're not just buying a car, you're buying a time machine back to the early 80s. Just don't forget your Bon Jovi cassettes. 19. Let me tell you about this fascinating 1954 Chevrolet Bel Air I just spotted on Craigslist. It's currently up for grabs at $15,000, and it's got some real classic charm. This vintage beauty comes with a 235 engine and an automatic transmission, making it a smooth operator on the road. Now, I've got to be straight with you. The seller is upfront about its condition. It's not a show car, but it's described as a presentable cruiser, which is perfect for those who appreciate a bit of patina and history. The Bel Air runs on gas and has a clean title, which is always a good sign for a car of this age. It's still rocking its original 6-volt electrical system, and according to the seller, it starts right up and runs well. All the lights and blinkers are in working order too, which is pretty impressive for a nearly 70-year-old vehicle. What's really appealing about this Chevy is that it's a driver. It runs and drives, making it a nice cruiser for weekend jaunts or local car shows. The seller emphasizes that while it's not in Concours condition, it's still a head-turner that you can actually use and enjoy on the road. Located in San Jose, this Bel Air could be a great project for someone looking to gradually restore a classic or for a collector who appreciates originality. At $15,000, it's priced in the realm of driver-quality classics. But as always, it's crucial to see the car in person and maybe get a mechanic's opinion before making a decision. Remember, folks, With classic cars like this, you're not just buying a vehicle, you're investing in a piece of automotive history. If you're serious about classic Chevys and don't mind a car with some stories to tell, this 54 Bel Air might just be the ticket. Just be prepared for the quirks and maintenance that come with owning a vehicle from the 1950s. 20. Let me tell you about this sweet 1964 Chevrolet El Camino I just spotted on Craigslist. This beauty is currently up for grabs at $13,500, and let me tell you, it's got some serious upgrades under the hood, and all around. First off, this El Camino is rocking a 350 cubic inch V8 with a 4-bolt main, which is a solid, reliable power plant. The sellers put in some work here, folks. We're talking a freshly rebuilt B&M TH350 transmission, a new drive shaft, and a fresh 12-bolt limited-slip rear end with 3.73 gears. That's a recipe for some serious performance. The engine's been upgraded with a Holly carb and an Edelbrock intake, which should give it some extra oomph. Cooling won't be an issue with the dual electric fan aluminum radiator setup. And let's talk about that suspension. Tubular front and rear with 2 drop spindles and coilovers up front. This El Camino's got the stance to match its go. Braking's been seriously upgraded too, with Wilwood disc brakes on all 4 corners and a Wilwood master cylinder. The sellers also added front and rear sway bars for improved handling, and there are air shocks in the rear for adjustability. New hooker headers feeding into glass packs should give this El Camino a nice rumble. Now, I've got to be straight with you. The odometer is broken, so we don't know the true mileage. That's something to keep in mind and maybe ask the seller about. The overall condition is listed as good, but with all these upgrades, it sounds like it might be better than just good. This El Camino seems like it would be a blast to drive, with its mix of classic style and modern performance upgrades. It's not a numbers-matching restoration, but for someone looking for a fun, upgraded classic that can really perform, this could be a great option. Remember, folks, always see a classic car in person before making a decision. If you're in the market for a unique, performance-oriented classic that blends car and truck, this 64 El Camino might just be your ticket to cruising in style.